Hello everyone and welcome to English Banisa. In this video we are going to discuss Bury Me in a Free Land by Francis Harper. Bury Me in a Free Land is a powerful poem by African American poet and abolitionist Francis Harper. In this poem, Harper passionately protests against slavery and dehumanizing practices that she strongly opposed. So the speaker of the poem expresses a fervent desire to be buried in a place where no person is enslaved. And by using vivid imagery and metaphors, Harper illustrates the horrific realities of slavery which evoke the pain and suffering endured by slaves. If we talk about the historical context of this poem, Bury Me in a Free Land, it was written for the anti slavery Bugle newspaper in 1858. This abolitionist publication was active from June 20, 1845 to May 4, 1861, featuring contributions from writers like Francis Ellen Watkins Harper, who addressed issues of anti-slavery, women's rights, and women's suffering. So the poem highlights the horrors of slavery and the inhuman conditions faced by the enslaved individuals. Additionally, the poem was recited in the film August 28, that is, A Day in the Life of a People. So, before moving further, let us know about the poetess Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. She was an African American poet, abolitionist, and advocate for women's rights. Born in Maryland, she was raised in a free black community and became one of the first African American women to publish a book of poetry. Harper's works often address social issues which include slavery, racial injustice, and gender equality. Throughout her life, she was an active participant in the abolitionist movement and the women's suffrage movement, using her writing as a powerful tool for advocacy and change. Talk about the structure of this poem, Bury Me in a Free Land. It's structured into 8 quatrains. That means there are 8 stanzas in this poem, with each quatrains following a regular rhyme scheme of double A double B, and each pair of lines conveying a single idea. So in this poem, the speaker means Frances Harper. She wishes to be buried among the humble, but only in a place where slavery is non-existent. Means she said that she cannot find peace in a land where slaves walk in despair or where mothers cry out of the loss of their innocent children, or nor can she rest in a place where people are brutally tortured because of their skin color, or where young girls are sold as mere objects. So all the speaker desire here is to be buried not in a land of slaves, to be buried anywhere except in a land where slaves exist. So as I told you, we have 8 quatrains in this poem, so let's discuss each one in detail. So here we have first stanza. Make me a grave wherever you will, in a lowly plain or a lofty hill. Make it among earth's humblest graves, but not in a land where men are slaves. So in this first stanza, the speaker means Frances Harper. She makes it clear that she doesn't care where she is buried. It could be in a low plain or a high hill, even among the poorest graves. But she strongly here refuses to be buried in a place where slavery exists. So this shows how much she hates slavery, afraid of dying. What really bothers her is the idea of slavery, which shows how strongly she believes in freedom and the dignity of people. Here in the second stanza, the speaker explains why she feels so strongly, means buried in a land where slaves exist. So here we have second stanza. I could not rest if around my grave I heard the steps of a trembling slaves. His shadow above my silent tomb would make it a place of fearful gloom. So, the meaning of this stanza here, she says she won't be able to rest if she hears the footsteps of a trembling slaves near her grave. So, the image of the trembling slaves shows the deep fear and suffering that slaves go through, that makes it seem likely they can barely stand. And the speaker also says that the shadow of the slave over her grave would fill the graveyard with darkness and fear, turning it into sad and gloomy place. which emphasizes how slavery creates a feeling of dread and sorrow. That's showing the cruelty of the system and how it harmed everyone involved. Now let's discuss the third stanza. Here, Francis Harper says, I could not rest if I heard the tread of a couple gang to the shambles led, and the mother's shriek of a wild despair rise like a curse on the trembling air. So here Frances Harper says she cannot rest if she hears the sound of a coffle gang. Now coffle gang is nothing but it is a group of slaves which chained together means slowly being led to sold or killed. So this imagery shows how slaves are treated as less than human and made to suffer. And the speaker also can't find peace where a slave mother's desperate scream fills the air like a curse. So the poet uses a strong metaphor here to compare the mother's cry to wild despair. Her scream is so sad that it seems to shake the air, that shows the deep suffering of slaves. This is the fourth stanza. I could not sleep if I saw the lash, drinking her blood at each fearful gash, and I saw her babes torn from her breast like trembling doves from their parent nest. So, here in this fourth stanza, the speaker says she cannot sleep if she sees a mother being cruelly whipped. Now, here the lash is described as if it is drinking blood with every strike, which makes the image of torture even stronger. And also, it represents the person who is using the lash. And the speaker also sees babies being torn away from their mother, that compares to trembling doves, which is taken from their nest. So, this image shows how cruel people are, hurting even the most innocent. This is the fifth stanza. I would shudder and start if I heard the bay of bloodhounds seizing their human prey, and I heard the captive plead in vain as they bound afresh his galling chain. So, here in this stanza, the speaker says she would shudder and jump if she heard the bloodhounds chasing their human prey, which refers to black individual which is being hunted down like animals. So here the poet uses two comparisons, means white men are compared to bloodhounds and black people are compared to prey. And I heard the captive plead in vain. That means the speaker talks about hearing a slave begging for mercy, and the oppressors put new chain on him, as they bound afresh his galling chain. Now, this galling chain represents the pain and suffering the slave goes through. Let's discuss the sixth stanza. If I saw young girls from their mother's arms, battered and sold for their youthful charms, my eye would flash with a mournful flame, my death paled cheek grow red with shame. The speaker thinks about young girls being taken from their mothers and sold for their youthful charms, means for their beauty. Even though she is dead, the speaker's eyes would burn with sadness, and her pale face would turn red with shame. Now, this shame is not just for the people who do these terrible things, but also for all of humanity for allowing it to happen. See the seventh stanza. I would sleep, dear friends, where bloated might can rob no man of his dearest right. My rest shall be calm in any grave where none can call his brother a slave. Now, here in this stanza, the speaker says she can rest peacefully in death if bloated might cannot take away anyone's dearest right. These bloated minds are nothing but these are the oppressors, means which it's represent oppressors, means whites. So here she is saying that if a bloated might cannot take away anyone's dearest right, then she can rest peacefully in death. My rest shall be calm in any grave where none call his brother a slave. Now, here she says that she can find calm in any grave as long as no one there can be called a slave. That means she believes that everyone, no matter their skin color, they should be treated equally like brothers. Now, let's discuss the last stanza. I ask no monument, proud and high, to arrest the gaze of the passers by. All that my yearning spirit craves is bury me not in a land of slaves. Now, here the speaker talks about not wanting a big, impressive monument to remember her, but she believes that no matter how grand it is, it can't give freedom to the people who have had their basic rights taken away. So, here she doesn't want to be famous. All she truly desires is to be buried in a place that is not filled with slaves. Here, the last line, bury me not in a land of slaves, this emphasizes her deep hatred for slavery and places where it exists. That shows her wish for a world without oppression. So, the central theme of the poem Bury Me in a Free Land, it is a condemnation of slavery and the longing for freedom. So, here Frances Harper powerfully expresses the emotional and psychological toll of slavery, not just on the enslaved individuals, but also on those who are aware of its existence. So the poem illustrates the deep connection between personal peace and the collective state of humanity, that emphasizing true rest cannot be found in a land where oppression prevails. It also underscores the importance of equality and brotherhood among all people regardless of race. Bury Me in a Free Land serve as a poignant reminders of the atrocities of slavery and the enduring fight for human rights. Frances Harper's passionate plea for freedom and justice resonates through her vivid imagery and emotional depth. The poem not only reflects her personal convictions but also stands as a powerful call to action against oppression by asserting her desire to be buried in a land free from slavery. That Harper emphasizing the necessity of creating a world where all individuals can live with dignity and equality, leaving a lasting legacy in the struggle for social justice. All for today's video, Bury Me in a Free Land by Frances Harper. I hope it would be helpful for you. Stay tuned for more videos and thanks for watching.